when that question took place.
Question number 2, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister and asks, what intelligence agencies that he is responsible for have contracts with Palantir? If so, what is the nature of those contracts?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's not my practice to discuss the operational capabilities or contracts of the New Zealand intelligence agencies. I do not believe it's in the public interest to do so.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
Does intelligence data mining company Palantir have any contracts with other New Zealand government agencies or departments, such as the police or defence?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in terms of the intelligence agencies, it's not my practice to talk about who they have contracts with and who they don't. In terms of the police or others, I'm not in a position to answer that question.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will he allow Palantir to embed one of its analysts in his government, given that the company is advertising just such an embedded position?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what takes place in terms of the operational matters of intelligence agencies and any company they may contract with is a matter for them, and they wouldn't reference that to me.
Point of order.
Point of order. Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek leave to table the job advert from Palantir for embedded analyst and Government New Zealand.
What is the source of the document, please?
It is a job advertisement from a company called Palantir, which is a data mining company.
Where's the member got the source the advert from?
The document is from May 2013, printed off the Palantir Careers website.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Banks. Given that it is obvious his government is using Palantir, will he cut government ties with the company if it is proven to be involved in violating the privacy of New Zealanders through the PRISM spy system?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I've said on numerous occasions, it's not my policy, nor has it been any other Prime Minister's policy, to talk about operational matters of GCSB or SIS. What I can reconfirm for the member, though, is the same point I made yesterday. I am confident on the legal advice I've received from my agencies that they act within the law at all times, and nor have there been any occasions where GCSB has advised me that they've sought to circumvent the law.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
Is his government using Palantir to replicate the US PRISM spy system so that it can more intensely spy into every aspect of New Zealanders' online activity?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member is basing his question on a hypothetical assumption. As I said, I'm not in a position to comment about what capability our intelligence agencies have or don't have. But what I can say, though, is that the GCSB and SIS have very clear rules under which circumstances they can gather information about New Zealanders. Those rules require, not the least of them being me as the Minister in charge to sign the warrant. That warrant has to be recommended and supported by the Inspector or the Commissioner of Warrants, Security Warrants. It's a very detailed and significant process. The member knows that, and the reason he shakes his head and answers those questions is he's trying to delude members of the public. He sits on the ISC committee, he knows what goes on, and if he wants to carry on the Act, he's free to do so, but I don't think it'll convince very many New Zealanders.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
How many times has he met or spoken to billionaire Peter Thiel, Palantir's largest investor, and on what dates?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I don't have those details with me, but if the member wants to put it down right in my office, we'll be able to supply it to him.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr. Russell Norman.
In his talks with billionaire Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, did they ever discuss the opportunities for intelligence-related work in New Zealand?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've made it clear yesterday I have never spoken to Peter Thiel about Palantir.
A point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order. Dr Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. That's an interesting answer from the Prime Minister, but my question was more general than that. It was about, did they ever discuss opportunities for intelligence-related work in New Zealand?
And the Prime Minister adequately addressed that question.
The Prime Minister discussed Palantir.
Order.
Palantir is not the entire scope.
I have ruled that the Prime Minister adequately addressed that question. Does the member...
So point of order, Mr Speaker, just for clarity. So you're saying that the Prime Minister addressed the question even though he only addressed Palantir?
The member is now disputing a ruling I've given. The member has an additional... Order. The member has an additional supplementary if he wishes to use it.
Supplementary, Mr Speaker. How would he describe his relationship with Peter Thiel? Is he someone he barely knows, like Ian Fletcher, who turned out to be his friend, who he eats breakfast with and whom he called and offered a GCSB top job to? And is this another example of the crony government looking after its mates at the expense of New Zealanders' right to live free from constant government surveillance?
Order. The Prime Minister can choose to answer it if he so wishes.
Mr Speaker, I describe my relationship as cordial. I have met Mr Thiel on a few occasions. I'd have to go and check exactly as I said if the member wants to ask me. I've never had a discussion with Mr Thiel about Palantir or about intelligence matters. He is someone that happens to live a certain period of time in New Zealand. He was extremely generous to the Christchurch earthquake as a matter of record. And just because Noddy over there doesn't seem to like the bloke...
Order that and that. I acknowledge it was a very political question.
Point of order. Point of order.
Order. If the member's calling a point of order, I'll hear Dr Russell Norman.
I take offence at that comment. I asked him to withdraw and apologise.
And many on this side of the House would have taken offence at the question that was asked by the member.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order. Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, if members took offence at the question, they should have taken a point of order. Sir, to describe members of this House as noddy is just not on.
Order. And I have ruled on the matter. In hindsight, I would have been better probably to have ruled the question out of order. The member got as good as he gave on that occasion.
Well, point of order, Mr Speaker.
Order. If this is questioning a decision I've made, I'm not prepared to entertain it if it is a fresh... Order. If it's a fresh point of order, I'm certainly happy to entertain it.
Sure. Fresh point of order.
Fresh point of order. Dr Russell Norman.
In an earlier supplementary, I asked the Prime Minister how many times he had met...
The member's now starting to dispute a ruling that I've given.
No, I'm not. It's got nothing to do with your ruling.
Well, the member better not be.
The Prime Minister gave an answer to that question, how many times had he met Peter Thiel, to say he didn't know and he'd have to look it up, which is fair enough, it was a specific question. He now, in supplementary question 7, has said, well, actually, I did meet him a few times. He can't have it both ways.
I've heard quite sufficient. The member now is using the point of order system because he doesn't agree with the answer from the Prime Minister. That in itself will lead to disorder. Question number 3, the Honourable...
Supplementary.
I apologise. Supplementary question, Claire Curran.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, did the GCSB...
Order. Order. Would Claire Curran please ask me supplement?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Did the GCSB receive information from offshore intelligence partners about Dotcom's activities in New Zealand during its spying operation in December 2011?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I think that question is considerably wide of the initial question. I'm not in a position to answer that. I don't have those details with me in the House.
Point of order, I'm happy to rephrase that question.
Order. The Prime Minister's answered it quite adequately. He didn't have those details in the House.
Point of order.
Point of order, Claire Curran.
I seek leave to table selected pages from the affidavits supplied in the Dotcom case, providing selected data which sets out the FBI as being the source
Order.
of that selected
Before I
data.
accept that, I just want some advice from the clerk as to whether that's an hour matter before the courts. Court to table selected pages of the affidavit. Is there any objection to that being tabled? Yes, there is. Question number 3. Order. 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 Honourable Tohanawe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance.